Good day besties, please subscribe for more, thank you. Lagos, Nigeria, known for its vibrant streets, bustling markets, and the electric hum of city life, had become Alex Carter's home. But it felt like a city he barely knew. To the outside world, Alex was the quintessential businessman, a billionaire entrepreneur who had the world at his feet. His business empire spanned several industries, from real estate to tech, and his personal wealth made him one of the city's elite. Yet, in the midst of all his success, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. His days were filled with meetings and boardroom debates, but none of it seemed to matter anymore. Money and status had never brought him the happiness he had expected. It was on one of those rare days, when the weight of his business dealings had grown unbearable, that Alex decided to break free from the cycle of luxury and monotony. He wanted to do something simple, something that didn't require a boardroom or a tailor-made suit. He had no particular destination in mind. He just needed to clear his head. Driving through the streets of Lagos, Alex's sleek black Range Rover passed by the usual flashy stores, traffic-filled intersections, and high-end restaurants. But then, his gaze landed on something different, a small, unassuming roadside food stand. The stall was modest, a far cry from the Michelin-starred restaurants he was accustomed to. Its sign was hand-painted, and the small wooden table was surrounded by plastic chairs. A couple of women stood behind the stall, serving steaming plates of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and suya, their voices blending with the hum of the street. Curiosity piqued, Alex slowed down and parked his car a little way off. He got out and walked toward the stand, taking in the aroma of the smoky barbecue and the savory spices wafting through the air. The food, despite its humble setting, seemed to beckon him. "Good afternoon, sir. What can I get for you?" A young woman's voice interrupted his thoughts. Alex turned his head. Standing before him was the woman who owned the food stand, a striking woman in her mid-20s, wearing a simple apron, a headscarf tied neatly around her hair, and a smile that seemed to radiate warmth. Her name was Lily Matthews. I'll have a plate of jollof rice and chicken, please," Alex said, his voice somewhat distracted as he took in her beauty. She wasn't dressed in anything extravagant, but there was something about her, the way she carried herself, the calm confidence in her eyes, that made her stand out. "Coming right up, sir," Lily replied, her voice polite yet firm. There was no trace of awe or excitement when she looked at him, and that intrigued Alex even more. In a world where everyone treated him like royalty or tried to use him for his wealth, it felt refreshing to speak to someone who didn't seem intimidated by his presence. As Lily prepared the food, Alex took a seat at one of the plastic chairs. He watched her work with ease, effortlessly maneuvering between the grill, stirring a pot, and serving customers. There was a certain elegance in her simplicity, an authenticity that made Alex feel like he was in a completely different world, a world far removed from his own. After a few minutes, Lily brought over a plate of food. The jollof rice was rich in color, the chicken grilled to perfection with a smoky aroma, and the suya on the side looked tantalizingly spicy. "Here you go, sir," she said, setting the plate in front of him. "Enjoy." Alex looked up at her. "Thank you." He picked up a fork and tasted the rice. The flavor exploded in his mouth, spicy, savory, and perfectly balanced. It was unlike anything he had ever tasted before, and for a moment, he was transported away from his corporate life, away from the world of luxury dinners and designer restaurants. He was just a man enjoying good food, sitting at a roadside stand in the heart of Lagos. "This is amazing," Alex said, genuinely impressed. "You have a real gift." Lily smiled modestly, her eyes glinting with pride. "Thank you. It's a family recipe. I've been running this stall for a while now. I've worked hard to make it just right." Alex's interest deepened. He put down his fork and looked at her more closely. "You're doing this all on your own?" "Yes," Lily replied, "with a little help from my sister sometimes, but it's mostly me. I save every penny I make to keep things running smoothly." That's incredible, Alex said, his mind racing. There was something about her drive, her determination, that captivated him. And how long have you been doing this? About 2 years now, Lily answered, wiping her hands on her apron. It's not easy, but I love it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it when people appreciate the food. Alex nodded thoughtfully, his gaze fixed on her. I respect that. You've built something from nothing, and that takes a lot of courage. Lily shrugged, a modest smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It's not much yet, but I'm hoping it'll grow. Alex leaned back in his chair, still processing her words. He could tell she wasn't just doing this for the money, there was passion in her voice. He wasn't used to meeting people who had such a deep connection to their work. Most of the people he knew in his world were only driven by profit, power, and status. But Lily was different. I'll definitely be coming back, Alex said, standing up. Your food is the best I've had in a long time. Lily's smile widened slightly. I'm glad you like it, sir. I'll see you soon. As Alex turned to walk away, he couldn't help but feel a strange pull in his chest. There was something about Lily, something that made him want to know her better. He had always been surrounded by people who wanted something from him, but with her, there was no expectation, no hidden agenda. She was just, real. He climbed back into his car, the taste of the food lingering on his tongue. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Lagos had always been a city of contrasts. Its streets buzzed with the fast-paced hum of ambition, yet there was an undeniable warmth in its heart, the kind that couldn't be bought with money. Alex had never truly seen it before. But now, every time he returned to the roadside food stall, it felt like he was being introduced to a new side of life, one he didn't even know he'd been craving. The days passed in a blur of business meetings and dinners, but Alex found himself looking forward to his stops at Lily's food stall more than anything. He'd sneak away from the world he knew, his suit, his shiny car, his meetings with CEOs, and lose himself in the simple joy of eating spicy jollof rice and grilled chicken. He loved the way Lily smiled at him as she served his food, as if she didn't know he was the son of a powerful businessman. The first few times, their conversations had been light. She'd tell him stories about her childhood, how she'd come from a small village in the outskirts of Lagos and how she had worked hard to build her food business. She was proud of it, and Alex admired that pride. The way she could find joy in the most modest of things made him feel alive in a way he hadn't in years. But one evening, as the golden sun dipped low on the horizon, Alex sat at his usual spot. The market was alive with music, chatter, and the smells of various street foods. The air was thick with the scent of sizzling meat and fried plantains. Lily handed him his plate of food, and Alex looked up at her with the usual appreciation. But today, something was different. There was a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a subtle wariness. Something wrong? Alex asked, noticing her hesitation as she set the food down. Lily didn't immediately respond. Instead, she glanced around, almost as if searching for an answer in the busy market around them. Finally, she sat down opposite him, her hands folding over her lap. Alex, she began slowly, her voice serious, I've been thinking a lot about this, about us. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had been so caught up in the way she made him feel, in how she was the only person who treated him like a normal man and not some celebrity, that he hadn't considered the weight of their differences. What about us? He asked, trying to hide the nervousness creeping into his tone. Lily hesitated, taking a deep breath. You're a businessman. I'm a street food vendor. Our worlds are different. Very different. Alex felt his chest tighten. He knew that, of course. But he hadn't expected her to say it out loud. He reached for her hand across the table, but she pulled it back, her eyes looking anywhere but at him. I'm just a woman trying to make a living. You have everything. I can't just forget that, Alex, she continued, her voice growing more emotional. I'm not like the women in your world. I don't know how I'd fit in. Alex swallowed, unsure of how to respond. The truth was, he didn't care about their differences. He didn't care that she didn't wear designer clothes or live in a mansion. What mattered to him was her authenticity, her drive, her warmth. But he knew it wasn't as simple as he wanted it to be. You're not like them. And that's why he stopped himself, realizing how heavy the words were. Was he ready to fight for her? Was he prepared to stand against everything he had built, everything his family expected of him? Lily stood up abruptly, breaking the moment. I don't think I can do this, Alex. I don't think I can keep pretending that I'm not out of place in your world. I need to focus on my business. I have to make this work. Alex watched helplessly as she walked away, his heart aching with every step she took. He knew she was right in some ways. Their worlds were different. But what if that difference didn't have to separate them? The next day, Alex found himself at a crossroads. His family, as usual, was pressing him to settle down with a woman from their own social circle. His mother had already started making inquiries about potential wives, women who were from wealthy families, educated abroad, and, most importantly, could keep up with his status. He didn't want any of them. He wanted Lily. But how could he convince her that their worlds didn't have to clash? How could he show her that, despite the weight of his family's expectations and his own fears, he was ready to fight for their love? But as he sat in his office, staring out over the Lagos skyline, a sinking feeling crept over him. He had known from the start that this wasn't going to be easy. He had known that his family would never approve of a relationship with someone like Lily. But that didn't change how he felt. As his phone buzzed with yet another reminder of a business meeting, Alex stood up and made a decision. He couldn't just let her go. He had to show her that love, real love, could transcend the boundaries of wealth, status, and family. But how could he do that without losing himself in the process? Meanwhile, Lily was doing what she always did, pouring herself into her work. Her food stall had become more popular, and the extra customers gave her a sense of accomplishment. But the loneliness that followed her after Alex left lingered in the corners of her heart. She was proud of how far she had come, but she couldn't help wondering if she would always be alone in her fight to succeed. As she closed up shop that evening, she looked out over the market, the setting sun casting a golden glow over everything. She knew she was strong, capable, and independent. But what she didn't know was whether she could ever let herself truly rely on someone else again. Could she trust Alex? Could she trust herself to love him without fearing what it would cost? Lily had always prided herself on her instincts. They'd served her well in the harsh streets of Lagos, where survival often depended on reading people quickly and accurately. But when it came to Alex, she was starting to feel like she had misjudged everything. For the past few weeks, their interactions had become more frequent, more personal. Alex would stop by the food stall almost every day, and while she tried to keep things professional, there was a part of her that couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuine in a way she had never experienced before. His presence made her heart race in ways she couldn't quite understand. Yet, despite the growing connection, doubts lingered in the back of her mind. He was wealthy, she was sure of it. But he never talked about his life outside of the food stall. He didn't mention his business, his family, or anything that would link him to the world she knew he belonged to. To her, that was a red flag. Maybe he was just like all the other men who came into her life with promises of a better future, only to leave her behind when things got complicated. But one evening, everything changed. It started like any other day. Alex arrived at the food stall, as he had done every evening for the past few weeks. His usual smile was there, but today, there was something different in his eyes. He seemed almost nervous, his usual confidence replaced with a subtle tension. Lily greeted him as always, but this time, something inside her clicked. She couldn't put her finger on it, but the weight of his hesitation was palpable. She watched as he sat down, a serious look crossing his face. "Lily," Alex began, his voice quiet yet firm, "I need to tell you something." Lily set down the plate of jollof rice and grilled chicken she had been preparing, sensing the gravity in his words. "What is it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. He took a deep breath, clearly struggling to find the right words. Finally, he spoke. "I've been hiding something from you," he said. "I'm not just some random guy who visits your food stand. I'm Alex Carter." Lily's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. She had heard the name before, of course. Alex Carter was one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Nigeria, the heir to a vast business empire. But she had never put the two together. How could this man, this humble man who sat across from her every day, be the same Alex Carter whose face graced the cover of magazines? Before she could respond, Alex continued. "I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want you to see me as just a billionaire. I wanted you to see me for who I really am, not for my wealth or my name. But I've been lying to you, and I'm sorry." Lily's mind raced as she processed his words. Her heart pounded in her chest, and for a moment, she couldn't find her voice. She had known there was something off about him, but this was more than she had ever expected. You are Alex Carter?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded, his eyes pleading for understanding. "Yes. But Lily, I didn't want you to know. I wanted to be with you for you, not for who I am or what I have." The silence between them grew heavy. Lily looked at him, seeing him not as the man who came to her stall every day for food, but as the powerful, wealthy businessman he really was. She had never imagined that the man sitting before her was the same one she had read about in the news, the man whose name was synonymous with power and privilege. For a long moment, Lily didn't know what to say. She had been so sure of her feelings for him, but now everything felt complicated. Could she trust him? Could she trust that his feelings for her were genuine, and not just the result of some fleeting interest? Finally, she spoke, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why didn't you just be honest with me from the beginning?" Alex stood up, taking a step closer to her. "Because I didn't want you to think I was just another rich man looking to buy his way into your life. I wanted to get to know you, without all the baggage, without all the expectations. But now I realize that by hiding the truth from you, I've made everything worse." Lily's eyes softened, but the hurt was still there. "I don't know what to think anymore, Alex. Everything feels like a lie. I trusted you. I didn't want to hurt you," Alex said, his voice full of regret. "I wanted us to be real, Lily. Just you and me, without all the distractions of the world we come from. But I've made a mess of it. I understand if you don't want to see me again." Lily looked away, struggling to find clarity. She had always wanted something real, something that went beyond appearances and wealth. But now that the truth had come to light, she wasn't sure if she could look at Alex the same way. "I need some time to think," she said quietly, her gaze fixed on the ground. Alex nodded, a look of sadness crossing his face. "I understand. I'll give you all the time you need." As he turned to leave, Lily felt a pang in her chest. Part of her wanted to run after him, to tell him that she understood, that she could see past his wealth. But another part of her, one that had been hurt too many times before, reminded her that love was complicated, and sometimes, the truth could shatter everything. The days following Alex's confession were filled with silence. Lily couldn't escape the whirlwind of emotions that seemed to have consumed her. The realization that Alex was, in fact, the billionaire heir to an empire had hit her like a ton of bricks. She hadn't known how to react, how to process the truth, and most of all, how to reconcile it with everything she thought she had understood about their relationship. She spent the next few days in a haze, working at her food stall, trying to keep her mind busy and her heart guarded. She still couldn't shake the image of Alex standing. Lily had always prided herself on her instincts. They'd served her well in the harsh streets of Lagos, where survival often depended on reading people quickly and accurately. But when it came to Alex, she was starting to feel like she had misjudged everything. For the past few weeks, their interactions had become more frequent, more personal. Alex would stop by the food stall almost every day, and while she tried to keep things professional, there was a part of her that couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuine in a way she had never experienced before. His presence made her heart race in ways she couldn't quite understand. Yet, despite the growing connection, doubts lingered in the back of her mind. He was wealthy, she was sure of it. But he never talked about his life outside of the food stall. He didn't mention his business, his family, or anything that would link him to the world she knew he belonged to. To her, that was a red flag. Maybe he was just like all the other men who came into her life with promises of a better future, only to leave her behind when things got complicated. But one evening, everything changed. It started like any other day. Alex arrived at the food stall, as he had done every evening for the past few weeks. His usual smile was there, but today, there was something different in his eyes. He seemed almost nervous, his usual confidence replaced with a subtle tension. Lily greeted him as always, but this time, something inside her clicked. She couldn't put her finger on it, but the weight of his hesitation was palpable. She watched as he sat down, a serious look crossing his face. "Lily," Alex began, his voice quiet yet firm, "I need to tell you something." Lily set down the plate of jollof rice and grilled chicken she had been preparing, sensing the gravity in his words. "What is it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. He took a deep breath, clearly struggling to find the right words. Finally, he spoke. "I've been hiding something from you," he said. "I'm not just some random guy who visits your food stand. I'm Alex Carter." Lily's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. She had heard the name before, of course. Alex Carter was one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Nigeria, the heir to a vast business empire. But she had never put the two together. How could this man, this humble man who sat across from her every day, be the same Alex Carter whose face graced the cover of magazines? Before she could respond, Alex continued. "I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want you to see me as just a billionaire. I wanted you to see me for who I really am, not for my wealth or my name. But I've been lying to you, and I'm sorry." Lily's mind raced as she processed his words. Her heart pounded in her chest, and for a moment, she couldn't find her voice. She had known there was something off about him, but this was more than she had ever expected. You are. Before her, vulnerable and honest. But that honesty only complicated things. She had built up a wall of pride around herself, and Alex had just come crashing through it with the weight of his truth. In the meantime, Alex found himself in a battle of his own. His family had been relentless since the moment they found out about his visits to Lily's food stall. His mother, especially, had been furious. She couldn't fathom why her son, who could have any woman in the world, would waste his time with someone beneath him. Alex had tried to explain to her that it wasn't about status, that Lily was real, but his words fell on deaf ears. One afternoon, as Alex sat in his family's lavish living room, his mother wasted no time in confronting him. "Alex, this is ridiculous," she said, her voice sharp. "You can't possibly be serious about this girl. She's a street food vendor. Do you understand what that means? She doesn't belong in our world. She doesn't fit into the life you've worked so hard to build." Alex clenched his jaw, trying to keep his temper in check. "I don't care about the world you think I belong to, Mom. I care about her. She's the only one who sees me for who I am, not for what I have." His mother scoffed. "You've lost your mind. This is a phase, Alex. You'll get over it. I'm sure this little fling will end soon enough." Alex stood up, the frustration in his chest rising. "It's not a phase. I love her, Mom. And I'm not going to let you or anyone else stand in the way of that." His mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "Love? You're telling me you love a girl like that? Do you know how many opportunities you're throwing away? Do you really want to risk everything for someone who has nothing?" Alex's voice lowered, a quiet determination filling it. "I don't care about the opportunities, Mom. What I care about is finding something real. Something that's not built on money or status. I've spent my whole life chasing empty things. Lily makes me feel like I'm enough, just as I am." His mother's expression hardened, and she crossed her arms. "You're making a huge mistake. I won't stand by and watch you ruin your future for someone like her." At that moment, Alex knew he had a choice to make. He could continue living the life his family had carved out for him, playing the role of the perfect heir to a business empire, or he could stand up for the love he had found with Lily, no matter the consequences. Meanwhile, Lily was facing her own pressure. Her friends and family had begun to ask questions. They had heard rumors of the wealthy businessman who had been visiting her stall regularly, and they were all too eager to offer their unsolicited advice. Her sister, Titi, was the first to confront her. "Lily, what is going on with you and that man?" she asked one evening, as they sat in Lily's small apartment above the food stall. Lily sighed and rubbed her temples. "I don't know, Titi. He's not who I thought he was. I feel like everything we've built between us was based on lies." Titi shook her head. "You're being hard on yourself. Look, I get it. I understand your doubts. But you can't deny that there's something there between you two. He's a billionaire, Lily. That's not something to ignore." Lily winced at the words. "That's exactly it. I can't stop thinking about the differences between us. He has everything, and I have nothing. What's the point of even trying if it's just going to end in heartbreak?" Titi softened her tone. "I get it. But you deserve to be happy. You deserve a chance at love, even if it's not the way you imagined. Don't push him away because of fear." Lily was quiet for a long moment, her mind spinning. Her heart told her that Alex was different, that he loved her for who she was. But her insecurities about their worlds colliding kept holding her back. Could she really trust him? Could she let herself be vulnerable again? The next day, as Alex stood at the entrance of the food stall, his heart racing, he knew that if he wanted to be with Lily, he had to prove it to her. He couldn't let the doubts of their families and society stand in the way. He had already lost so much in his life, he wasn't about to lose her too. Lily saw him from across the stall, and their eyes met. The tension in the air was palpable, but this time, Alex didn't wait for her to make the first move. He walked toward her, determination in every step. "Lily," he said softly, his voice carrying a sense of resolve. "I know I've made mistakes. But I'm not giving up on us. I'm ready to fight for this, for you, for what we have." Lily stared at him, her heart torn between the fears that had been holding her back and the love she had for him. The weight of their differences, the judgment from both sides, was heavy, but Alex's sincerity shone through. "I don't want to be scared anymore," Lily whispered, taking a step toward him. "But I need to know you'll stand by me, no matter what." Alex took her hands in his grip firm but gentle. "I will. I'm not going anywhere." For the first time in weeks, Lily smiled, the uncertainty lifting. There would be challenges ahead, challenges that would test both their love and their resolve. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. The tension that had plagued Alex and Lily's relationship seemed to fade as the days passed. The world around them had not changed, the pressures from their families, the judgment from their friends, the expectations of their status, they were still very much there. But something had shifted between them. A deeper understanding. A silent promise that, no matter what, they would face the future together. Alex had made it clear that he was willing to fight for their love, but for Lily, that fight wasn't just about choosing him. It was about finding the courage to trust again, to believe that their differences didn't have to tear them apart. For Alex, this journey was just as difficult. He had spent most of his life building a business empire, fighting for the approval of his parents, striving for success and power. He had grown accustomed to having everything he wanted. But with Lily, he was forced to question the true value of his wealth. It wasn't just about profits and accolades anymore. He wanted something more, something real, something rooted in love and purpose. Despite the support they found in each other, they both knew that their relationship would face even more challenges. But they were determined to make it work. It wasn't going to be easy, but they had both decided that love was worth the fight. The first steps toward building a future together began with small changes. Alex started spending less time at the office, and more time with Lily at her food stall. He helped her redesign the layout, adding a few modern touches to make it more inviting to customers, but without taking away the essence of the place. He helped her expand her menu, bringing in ideas from his business background to create new dishes while maintaining the authenticity of the flavors that made the food stand so popular. Lily, on the other hand, was learning to trust Alex more, not just as a businessman, but as a person who truly cared about her dreams. She had always been fiercely independent, but she slowly began to realize that it didn't mean she had to do everything on her own. With Alex by her side, she felt like she could take on anything. But despite the success they were starting to see with the food stall, the pressure from their families only intensified. Alex's mother, still disapproving of the relationship, insisted that he attend more social events and mingle with the women she had chosen for him. Lily, meanwhile, had to endure the judgment of her friends and family, who questioned whether her relationship with a billionaire was really about love or just a fleeting affair. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling meeting with his mother, Alex found himself sitting on the balcony of his penthouse apartment, staring out at the skyline of Lagos. His mind was racing, filled with thoughts of Lily, his family's demands, and the future they wanted to build. The noise of the city below seemed distant, as if he was in a bubble, separated from everything and everyone. The phone in his hand buzzed, snapping him out of his thoughts. It was a message from Lily. "Lily, we need to talk. I'm at the stall. Come see me." Alex didn't hesitate. He grabbed his jacket and left the apartment, determined to clear up whatever tension had settled between them. When Alex arrived at the food stall, he found Lily standing outside, her arms crossed, a serious expression on her face. The usually vibrant market seemed to fade into the background as he approached her. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of frustration and uncertainty. "Lily, what's going on?" Alex asked, his voice soft but filled with concern. "I'm scared." "Alex," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "I'm scared that we're just going to keep running into walls, over and over. You've already given up so much to be with me. What happens when you get tired? When you can't take it anymore?" Alex stepped forward, gently taking her hands in his. "Lily, I'm not going anywhere. I'm with you. But I need you to trust me. We can figure this out together. I won't give up on us." "I'm not worried about you giving up," she said, shaking her head. "I'm worried about me. I've spent my whole life trying to protect myself from people who've only wanted something from me. I've never let anyone in because I was too scared. And now that I'm with you, I'm scared that I'll lose myself in your world." Alex understood her fears all too well. He had been fighting the same battle, the battle between the life he had built and the life he truly wanted. "I don't want you to lose yourself, Lily. I don't want you to change who you are for anyone, least of all me. But we have to make compromises. We have to make this work on our terms, not anyone else's. Lily looked into his eyes, the vulnerability in her gaze mirroring his own. I'm trying, Alex. I am. But it's not easy. I know, he replied, pulling her into a gentle hug. But I'm here. And I'll be here, no matter what. We'll build this together. Slowly. We'll make our own path. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Alex and Lily worked side by side, expanding the food stall into a small but thriving restaurant. They began to incorporate more traditional Nigerian dishes, with Alex's business acumen helping them manage finances and marketing while Lily focused on perfecting the recipes. The business was growing, and so was their bond. But despite their shared success, the pressures never fully dissipated. Alex's family continued to push him to abandon the relationship, while Lily faced increasing doubts from her friends about her decision to stay with him. Yet, despite everything, they both knew that they were stronger together. One evening, after a successful event where their restaurant had gained considerable attention, Alex took Lily's hand, leading her outside into the cool night air. "Lily," he began, his voice steady, "I know this hasn't been easy, and I know there will be more challenges ahead. But what we have, it's worth every fight. I'm not letting go of this. I'm not letting go of you." Lily smiled, a soft tear slipping down her cheek as she squeezed his hand. "I'm not letting go either. Together, we can face anything." And with that, the two of them stood side by side, ready to take on the future together, no matter what it held. The night was quiet, but the tension between Alex and Lily had never been higher. Though they had managed to build a small empire together, they both knew that true success wasn't just about the business, it was about their ability to stand strong in the face of everything that was working against them. The opening of their restaurant had been a huge success. It wasn't just a place to eat, it was a symbol of their love, their shared dreams, and their refusal to be defined by the worlds they came from. It had quickly become a popular spot, not just for the quality of the food but for the story behind it, a billionaire businessman and a street food vendor defying the odds. But the more successful they became, the more the pressure mounted. It came from all sides, Alex's business partners, his family, even some of Lily's old friends, who couldn't understand why she had chosen a man with so much baggage. Alex had been spending more time at the restaurant, overseeing the expansion of their business. Yet, with each passing day, the strain of juggling both his family's expectations and his growing commitment to Lily began to take a toll on him. His mother had gone silent, refusing to acknowledge his calls. His father, while more neutral, had begun to question his decision to invest in a business run by someone who didn't know the ropes. But it wasn't just the business world causing tension, it was the personal. His friends, some of whom had once been his closest allies, began to distance themselves. They couldn't understand why he would choose to be with someone like Lily, someone who didn't fit into the perfect image of a wealthy, polished woman they'd envisioned for him. And then there was Lily. She, too, was facing her own battles. Her competitors in the food industry had started to spread rumors about her. They claimed that her relationship with Alex was nothing more than a publicity stunt, designed to make her restaurant more popular. Some of her old friends, who had always been supportive of her independent journey, were now questioning her decisions. They told her that she was settling for a man who could offer her nothing but a false dream. Lily had always prided herself on her independence. She had worked hard to get where she was. She had always been the one to make her own choices, to decide her own future. But now, with Alex by her side, she began to wonder if it was possible to combine her independence with love. One night, after a particularly exhausting day at the restaurant, Lily stood in the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. The lights were dim, the sounds of the street outside barely audible over the hum of the refrigerators. Alex walked in, his face tense as he closed the door behind him. "Lily, we need to talk," Alex said, his voice carrying an edge she hadn't heard before. Lily turned to face him, concern flickering in her eyes. What's wrong? I'm not sure how much more of this I can handle, he said, his frustration spilling over. We're working so hard, but the pressure from my family, from the people around us, it's suffocating me. They don't understand why I'm doing this. They think I'm throwing my life away. Lily's heart sank, but she tried to keep her voice steady. Alex, we knew this wasn't going to be easy. You've been fighting this battle for so long, and I've been right here with you. We can't give up now. I don't want to give up, he said, his voice softening. But I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending everything's fine. My mom won't even speak to me. She's telling people that I've lost my mind. You don't know what it's like to be in my shoes. Lily stepped closer to him, her gaze firm. And you don't know what it's like to be in mine. Everyone thinks I'm just with you for the money, that I'm some kind of gold digger. But I'm not, Alex. I'm not like those women who want something from you. I've worked my whole life to build something that's mine. And I'll be damned if I let anyone tell me that I don't deserve to be loved for who I am. Alex reached out and took her hands in his. I know you've worked for everything you have. And I love you for that. But all of this, it's tearing us apart. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to lose you. Lily looked down at their hands, then back up at him. Then we need to stop listening to other people. We need to focus on us. We're stronger than this, Alex. We've already proven that. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the harder they fought, the more they were pulling themselves apart. Every day seemed like a battle between what he wanted and what the world expected from him. Was it worth it? Was it really worth losing everything he'd worked for to pursue a love that so many people didn't believe in? The next morning, Alex made a decision. He didn't want to be dragged down by the expectations of his family, his friends, or anyone else. He wanted to be with Lily, and he would do whatever it took to make that happen. He picked up his phone and dialed his lawyer. I need to make some changes, he said firmly. I'm done with the boardroom politics. I'm ready to sell off my stakes in the businesses that have nothing to do with who I am anymore. His lawyer paused for a moment, then spoke. Are you sure about this, Alex? This is a big move. You'll be walking away from millions of dollars. I'm sure, Alex replied. I'm done pretending to be someone I'm not. And with that, Alex Carter, the billionaire businessman, made a choice that shocked his entire circle of influence. He decided to step away from the life he had built for himself, selling off his assets and focusing on the future he wanted to create with Lily. A week later, Alex walked into the restaurant, his steps more determined than ever. Lily was in the kitchen, putting the finishing touches on a new dish she was preparing. She looked up as he entered, her expression unreadable. Without saying a word, Alex walked up to her and took her hands, pulling her toward him. I've made a decision, he said, his voice filled with resolve. Lily raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to explain. I'm selling everything, he said, his eyes locked on hers. I'm walking away from the empire. I'm going to build something with you. Something real. Something that's ours. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she gazed at him. For the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. They could do this. They could overcome anything if they were together. Alex pulled her into an embrace, holding her tightly. I'll never let anyone tear us apart again, Lily. Not ever. Lily hugged him back, the weight of their struggles finally beginning to lift. Together, they could face whatever the future had in store for them. The days following Alex's decision to step away from his family's empire felt like a whirlwind. He had sold off his stakes in the businesses that had once defined his life and put his focus entirely on Lily, their restaurant, and their future together. But as much as they had hoped for a smooth transition, the real world had other plans. Lily had always been the pillar of strength in their relationship, but even she couldn't ignore the weight of the challenge ahead. The growing success of their restaurant had attracted attention, and while many were drawn to their story of love defying social barriers, there were still plenty of people who questioned their motives. They didn't understand why Alex, a billionaire, would walk away from everything to build something from the ground up with someone who didn't share his social status. It was one evening, a few weeks after Alex's big decision, when the pressure reached its peak. The restaurant had just finished a busy night, the air thick with the aromas of freshly cooked Nigerian dishes. The night had been a success, but as Alex walked into the kitchen to find Lily, he could see the exhaustion on her face. "You okay?" he asked, stepping behind her as she scrubbed down the counter. Lily turned to face him, her eyes tired but determined. "Yeah, just a little overwhelmed. I didn't expect it to be this hard." Alex took her hand gently. "I know. But we're doing it, Lily. We're building something together. One step at a time." She smiled weakly, but the concern in her eyes was still visible. "What if we can't handle it? What if we can't keep up with the pressure?" Before Alex could respond, the sound of someone clearing their throat echoed from the doorway. Lily's heart sank as she saw who it was: Titi, her older sister. Titi had been supportive of her from the start, but the look on her face suggested she was carrying some troubling news. "Lily, can we talk?" Titi asked, her voice softer than usual. Alex immediately stepped back, sensing the seriousness of the conversation. "I'll leave you two to it," he said, before heading to the back office. Lily felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she turned back to Titi. "What's wrong?" Titi's expression was a mixture of concern and disbelief. "I don't know how to say this, but you need to be careful, Lily. There's a lot of talk about your relationship with Alex. People are starting to question whether this whole thing is some kind of stunt. They say you're using him to get ahead. That you're taking advantage of his money." Lily's heart dropped. The thought that people were thinking those things about her, about their relationship, was crushing. She had worked so hard to build her reputation, to prove that she could succeed on her own. But now, everything felt like it was slipping through her fingers. "I'm not using him," Lily said, her voice shaking. "I love him, Titi. This isn't about money." "I know that, Lily. But what about the rest of the world?" Titi asked. "You know how people are. They see the billionaire and the street vendor, and they assume the worst. You're making yourself a target. And so is he." Lily took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I know. But we have to keep going. I can't let them win. I won't let them tell me who I'm supposed to love." Titi looked at her, then nodded slowly. "I understand. But just remember, you don't have to do this alone. You've got me. And you've got Alex." The next day, Alex found himself in a meeting with his former business partners. He had hoped to distance himself from the corporate world, but the reality was that his decision had far-reaching consequences. His partners, though surprised by his abrupt departure from the business, were quick to offer him a compromise, one that would allow him to remain involved in some of their ventures, but with a more hands-off approach. The catch was clear: the offer came with strings attached. They expected Alex to re-enter the world of wealth and influence, leaving Lily and the restaurant behind. But Alex had made his choice. He wasn't going to let anyone pull him back into the world he had escaped. "I'm not interested in your offer," he said firmly, standing up from the table. "I've made my decision. I'm focusing on something that matters to me. I'm done with that life." The silence that followed was thick, and the look on his partners' faces said it all. They were baffled and angry. "You're throwing away everything we've built, Alex. You can't just walk away like this." "I can, and I am," Alex replied, his voice resolute. "You've got your empire. I've got mine." As he walked out of the meeting, Alex felt a weight lift from his chest. The hardest part was over. He had made the decision to leave behind the life he had known, and he had done it for the right reasons. A defining moment. Later that evening, Alex met Lily at the restaurant. The air was filled with the familiar warmth of home-cooked meals, but the uncertainty lingered between them. As they sat down at a corner table, Alex took her hands in his. "I made my decision today," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I'm not going back to that life. I'm with you, Lily. I'll fight for us, no matter what." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she squeezed his hands. "I don't want you to fight for me, Alex. I want you to fight for us, for our future." "I will," he said, leaning in to kiss her forehead. "And I won't stop." At that moment, Lily felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in months. They were still facing the challenges, but they were no longer alone in the fight. Together, they could face anything. The weeks after Alex's decision to step away from the world he once knew were filled with both challenges and triumphs. Their restaurant was growing more popular by the day, and their bond, strengthened by the battles they had fought together, became an undeniable force. However, the world around them hadn't changed. The judgment from their families and the weight of societal expectations still lingered like an oppressive cloud. But for Alex and Lily, it no longer mattered. Their love had become a quiet rebellion against everything they had once been told to accept: money, status, and the paths others had chosen for them. Alex had learned to embrace his new life, one that was grounded in love, humility, and authenticity. No longer concerned with the approval of his family or colleagues, he poured his energy into the restaurant, offering business advice and guidance while helping Lily refine and expand the menu. They worked side by side, creating something that was uniquely theirs. Lily, too, had transformed. She had always been strong, but now she was even stronger, empowered not just by her independence, but by the unconditional love Alex gave her. The weight of their love story, which once felt like a burden, had become their greatest strength. But as they approached a significant milestone, celebrating the first anniversary of their restaurant, there was still the matter of facing down their families. Alex's mother had yet to speak to him since he made his decision to distance himself from the family business. His father, though less vocal, still made it clear he disapproved of Alex's new life choices. A family's resistance. It was on the night of the anniversary celebration when Alex's mother finally reached out. She had been silent for months, but now, she wanted to speak to him in person. Alex felt the weight of her judgment but knew it was time to confront it once and for all. He stood in the restaurant, nervously adjusting his tie, just before the guests began to arrive. Lily was busy in the kitchen, coordinating everything for the night's event. Alex could feel the tension in the air as his mother walked through the door. She was dressed in the elegant style he had grown accustomed to, her appearance immaculate, her demeanor distant. She walked toward him, her gaze cold. "Alex," she began, her voice clipped, "I never thought you'd go this far." "Mom," Alex said softly, but firmly, "I've made my choice. This is who I am now. I'm happy, and I'm proud of what I've built with Lily." His mother's eyes softened just a fraction, but her words were sharp. This isn't what I envisioned for you. You could have anything. You could have the world. I don't want the world." "Mom," Alex replied. "I want my own world, one that's built on love and hard work. One where I'm not just living up to expectations, I'm living my own truth." There was a long silence between them. Finally, his mother sighed, her face showing the weight of the conflict she had carried for so long. "I don't know if I can accept this, Alex," she said quietly. "But, if you're truly happy, then I'll try to understand." Alex smiled, his heart lightening. "Thank you, Mom. That's all I can ask." With his mother's reluctant acceptance, Alex felt a burden lifted from his shoulders. He didn't expect her to fully embrace his new life, but for the first time in months, he felt like they were on the path to reconciliation. More importantly, he knew that Lily was right by his side, and together, they could face anything the world threw their way. The restaurant continued to thrive, attracting more customers and attention. Lily's vision for the business, combined with Alex's expertise, created a perfect balance. The food, the ambience, and the love they poured into every dish became their signature, and it wasn't just about the food anymore, it was about the story behind it. They were no longer just a couple defying odds, they were a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and the power of choosing love over societal expectations. A few months later, Alex and Lily stood on the rooftop of their restaurant, the city of Lagos sprawling beneath them. It was a quiet night, the bustling sounds of the city softened by the cool breeze that swept across the rooftop. They had just finished celebrating a significant milestone. The restaurant had officially become one of the most sought-after dining spots in the city. Alex wrapped his arm around Lily's shoulders, pulling her close. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Lily smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I never imagined this would be my life. I never thought I'd be here, with you, building something real." They had spent so many months navigating the storm, but now, as they stood together in the glow of the city lights, they could finally breathe easy. The love they had fought for was no longer something they had to hide, it was something to be proud of. "We've got everything we need," Alex said softly, kissing the top of her head. "Love, purpose, and each other." Lily nodded, her heart full. "And that's all that matters." The journey had been long and filled with obstacles, but they had proven that love wasn't just about overcoming challenges, it was about building something meaningful from the ground up, together. It was about trust, sacrifice, and the courage to follow their hearts, no matter where it took them. With Alex by her side, Lily knew that they could face whatever the future held. Together, they had already overcome the hardest part. The fear of what others thought, the fear of being judged, the fear of not being enough. Now, with a thriving restaurant and a love that could withstand any challenge, they were ready to step into the future, hand in hand. And in that moment, with the city of Lagos shimmering in the background, Alex and Lily knew that their love story had only just begun.